Imagine you are holding a thread. One end is tied to your heart. The other is tied to the hand of everyone you know, your partner, your parents, your boss, and even the strangers who judge you from behind a screen. In the modern world, we are taught that these threads are our lifeblood. We are told to pull on them, to manipulate them, to beg the people on the other end to give us the love, the respect, and the likes we need to feel alive. We spend our lives in a state of constant tension, terrified that the person on the other end will let go, or worse, that they will pull back so hard we snap. We call this connection. The Stoics called it slavery. Welcome to the Great Reversal. Today, we aren't learning how to win people over. We aren't learning how to fix others or how to find a perfect partner. We are here to learn the most powerful social skill in human history, the art of unshakable connection. We are going to learn how to love without clinging, how to be loyal without being a victim, and how to stand in a room full of critics and feel as solid as a marble statue in a storm. You have been told that your peace depends on how others treat you. That is the lie of the hustle. The inner doctrine says something different. Your peace belongs to you, and no one, not even those you love most, has the power to take it away. Let us cut the threads of attachment and build the bonds of virtue. Part 1. The Diagnosis. The Mirror Trap. We are living in an era of performance connectivity. Through the digital windows of our lives, we have turned every friendship, every romance, and every social interaction into a stage. We don't just speak to people, we broadcast to them. We don't just love people, we curate our love for an audience of spectators. This has created a psychological condition the Stoics would recognize as a form of self-imposed slavery. We have walked into a mirror trap. We wake up and check our digital mirrors to see if we are liked. We go to work and look into the eyes of our colleagues to see if we are respected. We go home and look at our partners to see if we are enough. We have outsourced the most sacred thing we own, our self-perception, to the fluctuating, unreliable opinions of people who are just as confused and anxious as we are. The parasite of approval. Marcus Aurelius sat on the most powerful throne in the world, yet even he struggled with this. He wrote to himself in his private journals, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Think about the absurdity of this. You know your own intentions. You know your own heart. You know the battles you have fought and the virtues you are trying to build. And yet, one cold comment from a stranger or a misunderstood text from a friend can shatter your peace for an entire day. Why? Because you have made their reflection of you more real than the reality of yourself. In the modern world, this mirror trap is the engine of the grind. We aren't just hustling for money, we are hustling for validation. We want the social dividend, the feeling that we are winning in the eyes of others. But as any Stoic will tell you, if your happiness is a hostage to someone else's opinion, you are not a winner. You are a prisoner with a very comfortable cell. The transactional lie. Because we are trapped in the mirrors of others, our relationships have become transactional. We treat kindness like a currency. I was nice to you, so you must be nice to me. I supported you, so you must validate me. When the other person fails to pay back the debt, we feel a sense of burning resentment. We call it being hurt, but the Stoic calls it frustrated ego. We are not loving people, we are trading with them. We are giving affection in exchange for security. We are giving attention in exchange for status. This is the hustle culture, applied to the human heart, and it is why so many of us feel lonely even when we are surrounded by people. We are not connecting, we are negotiating, stepping out of the trap. The inner doctrine of relationships begins with a radical act of reclamation. You must realize that another person's opinion of you is a non-event. It takes place inside their mind, using their biases, their traumas, and their limited perspective. It has nothing to do with your objective reality. If a blind man tells you the sun isn't shining, you don't get angry at the sun, and you don't start doubting the light. You simply realize the man cannot see. Most people around you are spiritually blind. They are projecting their own shadows onto you. When they praise you, they are praising their own reflection. When they criticize you, they are attacking their own fears. The Stoic steps out of the mirror room and into the sunlight. They stop asking, "How do I look to them?" and start asking, "How do I act toward them?" We are going to move from being reactors to being actors. We are going to learn how to be a source of love that doesn't need a return on investment. Part 2, The Circle of Control, Why You Can't Fix People. The greatest waste of human energy is the attempt to edit the souls of others. In our modern hustle for the perfect life, we treat people like projects. We think if we just say the right words, provide the right incentive, or exert enough pressure, we can fix our partners, optimize our children, or correct our enemies. We believe that if they would just change, we could finally be at peace. The Stoic looks at this struggle and sees a form of madness. Epictetus, a man who lived under the absolute control of a master before he found his own freedom, gave us the ultimate razor. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. When it comes to relationships, the list of things not up to you is terrifyingly long. Their moods, their loyalty, their gratitude, their understanding of your intentions, their choice to stay or leave. If you place your happiness in the "not up to us" column, you are choosing a life of perpetual frustration. You are a gardener who is angry at the rain for falling, the sovereignty of the other. We often mistake influence for control. You can influence a person with your kindness, or your logic, or your beauty, but you never control them. Every human being is a sovereign kingdom. They have their own inner doctrine, however flawed or chaotic it may be. When you try to force someone to be what they are not, you are committing an act of spiritual aggression. You are saying, "Your nature is an inconvenience to my comfort." The inner doctrine teaches a different path, radical acceptance. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It means you stop being surprised by people's nature. If you go to a rose bush and get pricked by a thorn, you don't scream at the bush. It is a rose, thorns are its nature. If you deal with a person who is selfish, or loud, or ungrateful, and you get pricked, why are you surprised? You are dealing with a person acting according to their current level of wisdom. The focus shift from them to me. The great reversal happens when you move your focus from the recipient to the giver. The hustle mindset asks, "How can I get them to love me?" The Stoic mindset asks, "How can I be a person worthy of love, regardless of if it is returned?" If you are kind to someone and they are rude in return, the hustle tells you that you lost. You spent kindness and received debt. But the Stoic knows that you won the only game that matters, the game of character. You exercise the virtue of kindness. That virtue is now a permanent part of your soul. Their rudeness is a permanent part of theirs. You have kept your gold, they have thrown theirs away. Why would you be upset that you kept your gold? The practice, the nature audit. Think of the person in your life who frustrates you the most. Now, perform an audit of their nature. Are they naturally anxious? Are they currently blinded by their own ego? Are they acting out of a past trauma you didn't cause? Accept that, at this moment, they cannot be different than they are. They are a physical fact of the universe, like a storm or a mountain. Now, look at the only thing you actually own, your response. You can choose to be a mirror, reflecting their chaos back at them, or a mountain, remaining still while the clouds pass. The wealthy soul is the one who stops trying to buy the behavior of others and starts investing in their own unshakable peace. You cannot fix the world, and you cannot fix people. You can only fix the doctrine by which you encounter them. Part 3. Preferred indifference in love, loving without clinging. The modern world has a romanticized view of need. We write songs about not being able to breathe without someone. We watch movies that tell us we are half souls, searching for our other half. We have been conditioned to believe that the intensity of our anxiety is a measure of the intensity of our love. The Stoic calls this sympathia, but with a warning. To the Stoic, Another human being, no matter how dear, how beautiful, or how kind, is a preferred indifferent. This term often sounds cold to the modern ear, but it is actually the ultimate form of protection for love. It is preferred because, of course, it is better to be loved than to be hated. It is better to have a partner than to be alone. Love is a preferred state of existence. It is indifferent because your character, your inner doctrine, does not depend on them. If they leave, you are still a person of virtue. If they die, your soul is still intact. The glass cup metaphor. Epictetus used a famous, albeit jarring, metaphor. He said that when you kiss your child or your spouse, you should remind yourself, I am kissing a mortal. You are not kissing a god. You are not kissing a permanent fixture of the universe. You are kissing a beautiful, fragile being that is on loan to you from fate. Think of a beautiful crystal cup. You enjoy its clarity, the way it catches the light, and the way it holds your wine. You appreciate its beauty every day. But you know that it is glass. If it drops and shatters, you are saddened, but you are not surprised. You do not lose your mind, because you always knew the nature of the thing you held. Most people treat their relationships like they are made of indestructible diamond, and when they inevitably break, their entire world collapses. The Stoic treats their relationships like the finest glass, loving them more deeply because they are fragile, but never forgetting their nature. Love as an activity, not a possession. Hustle culture teaches us to win a partner, as if they are a trophy to be kept in a cabinet. This leads to clinging. When we cling, we stop seeing the person and start seeing our possession. We become jealous, controlling, and fearful. The inner doctrine views love as a verb, not a noun. Love is the act of wishing for the other person's highest good. It is the exercise of justice, kindness, and patience toward them. When you view love as an activity you perform, rather than a thing you own, the fear of loss diminishes. You can't lose your ability to be a loving person. Even if the recipient of your love goes away, your capacity to love remains. You are the source of the light. They were just the moon reflecting it back at you. The premeditatio of the parting. The most difficult practice in Stoic relationships is the contemplation of loss. Imagine the person you love most. Now, imagine them walking out the door for the last time. Imagine the silence in the house. Imagine the bed being empty. Does this make you love them less? No. It makes the now electric. It strips away the petty arguments about the dishes or the missed texts. It focuses your soul on the reality that this moment is a miracle. The hustle tells you to take people for granted so you can focus on your goals. The Stoic tells you that the people are the arena where your goals, your virtues, are tested. The practice, the lone perspective. Today, look at your partner, your friend, or your child. Do not say, they are mine. Say instead, they are on loan to me. When you see them through the lens of a loan, your behavior changes. You become more grateful for their presence. You become more patient with their flaws. You stop trying to manage them and start simply being with them. True abundance in relationships is the ability to say, I love you with my whole soul, but I do not need you to exist. This is not coldness. It is the only way to love someone for who they are, rather than for what they do for your ego. You are no longer a beggar for affection. You are a king who is choosing to share his throne. Part 4, The Social Fortress. Dealing with the difficult and the ungrateful. Modern hustle culture tells you to cut out toxic people with the clinical coldness of a surgeon. While protecting your environment is wise, the Stoic knows that you cannot live in a bubble. You will always encounter the rude clerk, the manipulative colleague, or the family member who knows exactly which buttons to push. If your peace depends on everyone being nice, you are the most vulnerable person in the room. The Stoic does not build a wall to hide behind. They build a fortress of mind. They realize that another person's rudeness is not a missile that can hit them. It is merely a noise outside the gates. The morning rehearsal of the mind. Marcus Aurelius began his days with a famous meditation. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This sounds cynical, but it is actually the ultimate form of kindness. By expecting the meddling and the surly, Marcus was never shocked by them. When you are shocked, you react with anger. When you are prepared, you react with pity. The Stoic realizes that a person who is meddling or dishonest is suffering from a disease of the soul. They have lost the ability to see the truth. They are spiritually blind. You wouldn't get angry at a blind man for bumping into you. Why get angry at a fool for acting foolishly? To do so is to join them in their folly. The insult, as an external event. Hustle culture is obsessed with respect. We are told to demand it. But to a Stoic, respect isn't external, it is in the mind of the other person. You cannot demand it, you can only be worthy of it. When someone insults you, the Stoic performs a chemical analysis of the event. The sound, vibrations of air hitting your eardrum. The opinion, a set of words formed by a mind you do not control. The judgment, this is the only part that matters. Epictetus said, "It is not the person who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your judgment that these people are insulting you." If a toddler calls you ugly, you laugh. Why? Because you don't value their judgment on aesthetics. The inner doctrine teaches you to treat the insults of the arrogant or the ignorant with the same weight you give to a toddler. If their judgment is flawed, their words are meaningless. Becoming the rock in the sea. There is a powerful image in Stoic literature, the rock in the sea. The waves crash against the rock. They roar, they foam, and they try to move it, but the rock remains still. Eventually, the waves grow tired and recede, but the rock is exactly where it started. When you encounter a difficult person, be the rock. They provide the waves, the shouting, the manipulation, the drama. You provide the stillness. If you fight back, you have been moved. If you try to win the argument, the waves have won. But if you remain steady in your virtue, if you respond with calm logic or even silence, you have maintained your sovereignty. You have proven that your inner doctrine is more powerful than their chaos. The practice, the pause of the sovereign. The next time someone is rude to you or treats you unfairly, do not respond immediately. That initial urge to snap back is a hustle reaction, an attempt to protect your ego. Take the pause. Count to 10. Look at them as a scientist would look at a strange specimen. Ask yourself, what part of their soul is broken that makes them act this way? By shifting from victim to observer, you disarm the attack. You realize that their behavior is a reflection of their internal state, not a definition of your worth. True abundance in social life is the ability to walk through a storm of criticism and remain dry. It is the realization that no one can hurt your character without your permission. You are the master of the fortress. Let the waves roar. The rock is not moving. Part 5. The duty of the friend. Loyalty without envy. In modern hustle culture, networking has replaced friendship. We are taught to look at people as rungs on a ladder. We ask, what can this person do for me? Or, how does knowing them improve my status? We treat our social circle like a portfolio of assets. The Stoic views this as a profound poverty of the soul. To the Stoic, friendship is one of the highest expressions of virtue. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, when asked what a friend is, replied, "Another eye." This is the concept of sympathy in action. A true friend is someone with whom you share a moral vision. They are not there to entertain you or to help you get ahead. They are there to help you stay virtuous, and you are there to do the same for them. The anti-envy clause. One of the greatest tests of a friendship is the success of the other person. In a world of comparison, when a friend achieves a massive win, a promotion, a windfall, a beautiful relationship, we often feel a subtle, poisonous sting of envy. We feel that their gain is somehow our loss. The inner doctrine of friendship eliminates this poison. If a friend is another self, then their success is your success. When they win, virtue has won. When they flourish, a part of you flourishes. The wealthy soul is the one who can celebrate a friend's triumph with the same genuine heat as if it were their own. They don't see a zero-sum game, they see a rising tide. If you cannot be happy for your friend, you aren't their friend, you are their competitor. The duty of frank speech, Parisia. Hustle culture creates yes men. Because we want to keep our connections happy, we often lie to them. We flatter them. We watch them make destructive choices, and we say nothing because we don't want to ruin the vibe. The Stoic friend practices Parisia, candid, honest, and loving speech. Seneca argued that a friend who only tells you what you want to hear is not a friend, but a flatterer. A true friend is the one who loves you enough to tell you when you are being an ego-driven fool. They are the mirror that doesn't filter the truth. However, this isn't an excuse to be cruel. The inner doctrine demands that frank speech be delivered with justice and kindness. You don't speak to bring them down. You speak to bring them back to their best selves. You are a co-navigator on the path to excellence. The Fairweather test. Most friendships are built on the indifference. People are friends because they like the same music, go to the same parties, or work in the same industry. These are friendships of pleasure, or friendships of utility. When the pleasure stops, when you get sick, or lose your job, or fall into a depression, these friends disappear. The Stoic builds friendships of virtue. These are built on the inner doctrine itself. A Stoic friend loves you for your character, not your circumstances. Because character is the only thing that lasts, these friendships are the only ones that are truly unshakable. The practice, the second self, audit. Look at your closest circle. Ask yourself, am I a yes man, or a true mirror? Do I feel a sting when they succeed, or a surge of joy? If they lost everything tomorrow, would I still be standing there, or would I fade away? Pick one friend this week and practice active loyalty. Don't just send a text. Do something that supports their highest self. Offer them a perspective they might be missing, or celebrate one of their wins without mentioning your own. Experience the abundance of being a giver in a world of takers. Realize that by investing in the virtue of another, you are doubling the amount of good in your own universe. You aren't just a person anymore, you are part of a team. Part 6. The Art of Forgiveness, Releasing the Debt. Modern culture is obsessed with justice, but it often confuses justice with retribution. We are taught that if someone wrongs us, we must hold on to our anger like a shield. We believe that our unforgiveness is a punishment for the other person. We think that by staying angry, we are holding them accountable. The Stoic looks at this and sees a man drinking poison and expecting his enemy to die. To the Stoic, resentment is a second injury. The first injury was whatever they did to you, the lie, the betrayal, the insult. That event is over. It is in the past. It is an external that you can no longer change. But the resentment? That is an injury you are currently inflicting on yourself. Every time you replay the wrong, you are stabbing yourself with a knife. The debt of the fool. Think of your emotional energy as capital. When you hold a grudge, you are investing your most precious resource, your peace of mind, in a person you don't even like. You are giving them rent-free space in your head. The inner doctrine views the wrongdoer as a person who has made a categorical error. They thought that hurting you would make them happy. They thought that being dishonest would give them an advantage. They were wrong. They have already damaged their own character, which is the only true harm a human can suffer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." If you respond to their hatred with your own hatred, they have won. They have succeeded in turning you into a version of themselves. But if you look at their action, recognize it as a product of their ignorance, and choose to remain steady in your virtue, you remain the master. You have not been infected. Forgiveness as logical release. Stoic forgiveness is not about liking the person. It is not about excusing the behavior. It is about logical release. It is the realization that the event is in the indifferent past. The person acted according to their flawed nature. My anger does not change the past. It only ruins my present. When you forgive, you are simply closing a bad account. You are saying, I will no longer spend my life force trying to collect a debt that cannot be paid. You are clearing the ledge of your soul so you can focus on the only thing that matters, your own current actions. The view from above. When someone hurts you, the ego zooms in. It makes the injury look massive, like a mountain in front of your eyes. The Stoic uses the view from above to regain perspective. Zoom out. See your city. See the continent. See the earth as a tiny blue dot in the silent, vast cosmos. Now look at the insult or the betrayal. In the grand timeline of the universe, that event is a microscopic flicker. It is a grain of sand in a desert. Why give it the power to eclipse your sun? The practice, the pity meditation. Think of someone who has wronged you. Instead of focusing on your pain, focus on their poverty. Imagine the internal state of a person who feels the need to lie to get ahead. Imagine the constant anxiety of a person who is habitually cruel. Imagine the darkness in the mind of someone who cannot be loyal. You don't feel anger for a person with a broken leg. You feel a detached kind of pity. Treat the spiritually broken the same way. Say to yourself, this person is blind to the truth of how to live. I will not let their darkness dim my light. Release the debt. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve the peace that comes with an empty ledger. You are no longer a victim seeking payment. You are a sovereign soul who is too wealthy to care about the change they stole from your pocket. Part 7. The Social Duty. Being the light in the room. Modern hustle culture is often a lone wolf philosophy. It tells you to focus on your own grind, your own empire, and your own brand. It views other people as either competitors to be beaten or obstacles to be navigated. But the Stoic knows that a human being is fundamentally a social animal. The Stoics use the term koinonikos, the social instinct. They believe that we were born to work together, like the 2 rows of teeth in your mouth or the 2 hands of your body. When you separate yourself from the welfare of others, you are acting against your own nature. You are a limb trying to live without the heart. The Radiating Fortress. In the previous chapters, we spoke about building an inner fortress to protect your peace. But the goal of the fortress isn't to hide inside, it's to provide a safe harbor for others. When a crisis hits, at work, in your family, or in your community, most people react with panic, blame, or despair. They are hustlers who have lost their ROI. The Stoic, however, is the one who remains steady. By being the only person in the room who isn't panicking, you perform a profound social service. Your stillness is contagious. You don't need to preach Stoicism, you simply embody it. You become the light in the room, not by speaking loudly, but by being unshakable. The duty of assistance without attachment. The inner doctrine demands that we help others. But there is a Stoic twist. You must help with your actions, but not necessarily with your grief. If a friend is crying because they lost their job, the modern empath culture tells you that you must cry with them to show you care. The Stoic disagrees. If you jump into the hole with them, now there are 2 people in the hole, and no one is left at the top to pull the other out. The Stoic practice is compassion without passion. You offer the money. You offer the advice. You offer the steady hand. But you do not offer your own peace. By remaining calm, you provide the clarity your friend actually needs. You are a doctor who can perform surgery because he isn't crying over the wound. This is not coldness. It is the highest form of utility. Justice as an active force. In Stoicism, justice is one of the 4 cardinal virtues. It is not just about not breaking laws. It is the active duty to contribute to the common good. A socially wealthy Stoic asks, how can I use my preferred indifference, my money, my time, my influence, to increase the virtue of my community? Asterisk if you see an injustice, you don't just journal about it. You act to correct it, because apart you cannot thrive if the whole society is sick. The practice, the stability anchor drill. The next time a small crisis happens, a project fails, a flight is cancelled, or a family argument breaks out, consciously decide to be the anchor. Do not complain. Do not assign blame. Do not raise your voice. Simply ask, what is the most virtuous thing to do right now? Watch how others look to you. Notice how your presence alone lowers the temperature of the room. This is the ultimate social dividend. You aren't just winning at life, you are making life winnable for those around you. True abundance is having so much internal peace that you can give it away to everyone you meet, and still have a surplus for yourself. Part 8. The Cosmopolis, the universal citizen. Modern hustle culture is built on tribalism. We are taught to identify with our brand, our nationality, our political party, or our socioeconomic class. We build our identity by excluding others. We are told that they are the reason we aren't winning. The Stoic looks at these boundaries and sees a child's drawing in the sand. The Stoics introduced one of the most revolutionary concepts in human history, the cosmopolis, or the world city. They argued that before you are a citizen of Rome, or Athens, or New York, you are a citizen of the cosmos. You are a member of the great commonwealth of rational beings. Hierarchical circles of concern. The Stoic philosopher Hierarchus provided the blueprint for this global empathy. He asked us to visualize ourselves at the center of a series of concentric circles. The first circle, your own mind. The second circle, your immediate family. The third circle, your extended kin. The fourth circle, your local community. The fifth circle, your fellow citizens. The final circle, the entire human race. The inner doctrine of relationships is the practice of contraction. Your goal is to pull the outer circles inward. You should strive to treat the neighbor like a cousin, the citizen like a brother, and the stranger like a fellow countryman. Why? Because they share the same spark of reason that you do. They are cut from the same cloth of the universe. When you see a stranger, you don't see an other, you see another, I, who is also trying, failing, and struggling to find their way in a chaotic world. The end of xenophobia and elitism. Hustle culture thrives on feeling better than. It needs a lower class to look down upon so it can feel successful. The inner doctrine of the cosmopolis destroys this ego trap. Seneca famously said, "Nature produced us all related to one another. She instilled in us a mutual love and made us sociable." To a Stoic, a king and a slave are equals in the only way that matters. They both have a soul, and they both have a duty to be virtuous. If you treat someone poorly because of their status, their race, or their beliefs, you are not being elite, you are being ignorant. You are failing to recognize the family resemblance of the soul. The power of the global perspective. When you view yourself as a citizen of the world, your social anxiety evaporates. If you are afraid of being judged by your peers, you realize that your peers are not just the people in your office, but the great minds of history and the millions of souls across the globe. If you feel lonely, you realize that you are part of a massive, interconnected web of humanity. You are never truly alone, and you are never truly an outcast, because you belong to the cosmos. As long as you are acting with virtue, you are a citizen in good standing of the only city that matters. The practice, the stranger recognition drill. Today, as you go about your day, look at the people you usually ignore, the barista, the driver in the next car, the person walking their dog. For a split second, consciously think, "This is my kin." Notice how this thought changes your body language. Your face softens. Your defensiveness drops. You might offer a small nod or a genuine "thank you." You are pulling the circle. You are practicing the inner doctrine of humanity. By recognizing the humanity in a stranger, you are strengthening the humanity in yourself. You are realizing that the inner fortress isn't a place to hide, it's a home where everyone is welcome. Part 9. The Art of Parting, Stoicism in Grief and Separation. Every relationship you have, without exception, will end. Some will end in a misunderstanding, some in a slow drift of interests, and some in the finality of death. Modern culture handles this reality with two equally destructive extremes: denial or despair. We either pretend we are immortal and our bonds are permanent, or we collapse into a state of total soul ruin when a bond breaks. We treat the end of a relationship as a failure of our lives. Hustle. The Stoic views the end not as a failure, but as a completion, the return of the lone. When a relationship ends, our ego screams, "I have lost something." The Stoic corrects this. "No, I have returned it." Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we do not own people. We are granted their company for a season. If you borrow a book from a library, you don't weep when the due date arrives. You are grateful for the time you spent with the pages. The Inner Doctrine teaches us to look at a departed loved one or a lost friendship and say, "I am grateful for what I had, and I am grateful for what I am capable of giving now." You do not mourn the absence of the light. You celebrate that the light existed at all. To refuse to move on is to tell the universe that the gift wasn't enough, that you demanded a permanent possession of something that was always meant to be free. The wound versus the character. Separation often leaves a phantom limb feeling. You go to text them, and they aren't there. You see something they would love, and you realize the bridge is gone. The hustle tells you to get over it by finding a replacement, a rebound, or a new distraction. But the Stoic knows that a wound must be felt before it can be healed. You allow the pain to exist, but you do not allow it to become vice. It is natural to feel the sting. It is a vice to become bitter. It is a vice to let the loss of one person make you cruel to the next. Your character is the only thing that must remain unbroken by the break. If you can lose someone and still remain kind, still remain just, and still remain grateful for life, you have achieved the ultimate Stoic victory. You have proven that your soul is a fortress that can survive even its own heartbreak. Part 10. The Final Synthesis. The Unshakable Soul. We have traveled through the shadows of anger, the fog of anxiety, the illusions of wealth, and the mirrors of relationships. The journey of the Inner Doctrine concludes here, not with a set of rules, but with a transformation. The master of the internal kingdom. The modern hustle is an attempt to build a kingdom on the outside. It is a pursuit of a bigger house, a higher title, a more perfect partner, and a louder fan club. It is a life built on if/then logic. If I get the promotion, then I will be happy. If they love me, then I am worthy. The Inner Doctrine flips the script. It builds the kingdom on the inside. The Stoic realization is that you are the only one who can ever truly harm you. A boss can fire you, a partner can leave you, and a market can crash. But none of those things can force you to be a coward. None of those things can force you to be a liar. None of those things can force you to be miserable. Happiness is not a result, it is a choice of character. The Great Reversal, living in reverse. Most people live their lives looking forward, waiting for the next thing to fulfill them. The Stoic lives their life as if they are already on their deathbed, looking backward. When you look back on your life from the end, what will matter? Not the likes, not the grind, not the hustle. What will matter is the quality of your presence. Did you face the storms with dignity? Did you love the people in your life without trying to own them? Did you use your wealth for the good of the hive? Did you maintain your inner doctrine when the world tried to buy your soul? The final command, go forth and be the statue. You are now equipped with the inner doctrine. You know that the world is a chaotic, spinning game of dice. You know that people are flawed and fate is fickle. But you also know that you are a solid point. Be the marble statue that the wind cannot move. Be the gold kintsugi that finds beauty in the cracks of life. Be the person who walks into a room of chaos and brings the silence of a mountain. The hustle is over. The peace has begun. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. We have reached the end of this journey, but for you, the real work is just beginning. You came here looking for a way to navigate a world of chaos, and you found the only thing that has ever stood the test of time: your own character. You have learned that the hustle is a treadmill that only stops when you decide to step off. You have learned that people cannot break you, and that loss cannot bankrupt you, unless you allow your inner doctrine to falter. The marble of your life is being carved every single day. Every choice you make, every reaction you still, and every hand you hold without clinging, these are the strokes of the chisel. If this series has helped you find your footing, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe and join a community that values depth over noise, and virtue over status. Go out today and be the calm in someone else's storm. Be the light in the room. Be the unshakable soul the world so desperately needs. The doctrine is set. The fortress is yours. Stay steady. Stay free. And as always, remain the master of your mind.